Good morning, and thank you for joining our learning community for 10 minutes to learn more about how you can support the well-being of your team. This morning, we return to the climate or morale building block of well-being and the importance of creating a sense of community. And we'll be exploring how we get to know each other's strengths, and we'll also discuss how you might get to know your own strengths better. Gallup has reported that strengths-based workplaces are significantly more collaborative and inclusive. But let's look more closely at how there is a connection between strengths focus and building a sense of community. Now, if you remember back in session 10, I introduced you to the 4 elements of the sense of community as described by Macmillan and Chavez. Our conversation about getting to know the strengths of our people connects to 3 of these elements. The first element is fulfillment of needs. Remember, people belong to communities to satisfy one or more needs. And in a professional community of practice like ours, common needs include succeeding, learning, growing professionally, as well as needs such as doing meaningful work or being part of a mission-driven and effective team. The second element is influence, simply the fact or the belief that my voice, input, or contribution are all recognized and heard. And finally, emotional connection. This includes a felt sense of connection between community members. When employees feel we really know them, see them, and appreciate their strengths, connection grows. When taken together, this is about feeling we're part of a collaborative culture in which we have the opportunity to do what we do best every day, and that people continue to support our growth and our development. A focus on strengths is associated with higher levels of engagement. In their book, Strengths-Based Leadership, Rath and Conchi report that in the workplace, when an organization's leadership fails to focus on individual strengths, the odds of employees being engaged are a dismal 1 in 11 or 9%. But when an organization's leadership focuses on the strengths of its employees, the odds soar to almost 3 out of 4 or 73%. So that means when leaders focus on and invest in their employees' strengths, the odds of each person being engaged goes up 8-fold. Gallup also suggests the best leaders know their people and are more aware of those people's strengths than they are of their weaknesses. Now, great leaders, aren't blind to their own weaknesses or others' weaknesses. They just know that their competitive edge lies with their strengths and ultimately in a strengths focus. So how do we discover our strengths and the strengths of the people in our teams? I'm going to introduce 3 options. There are more, but these are the 3 we're going to look at today. Formal assessments, discovery conversations, which can be done with others or in the form of personal reflection to discover your own strengths, and then noticing energy shifts. Formal assessments aren't always necessary, so please just choose the optional options that best meet your needs. But that said, let's start with formal assessments. And I'm going to introduce 3 online assessment options. I've done them all, and they were all very helpful, but I'm not going to recommend one over the others. Now, Gallup's well-known Clifton Strengths Finder looks at 34 strengths. It takes about 35 minutes, and there are various levels of reports available, including your top 5 strengths and how to lead with these, or for an additional cost, a full report on your 34 strengths in order. There isn't a free version of this assessment. Several colleagues have shared with me that they find the guidance that Gallup provides about how to use your top strengths, but avoid the pitfalls of overusing them, really helpful to their leadership. Another well-validated assessment is the Strengths Profile Assessment by Cappfinity. This assesses 60 strengths and groups them into 4 quadrants that they call realized strengths. Those are strengths that you're using and you enjoy using. Unrealized strengths, those are strengths that you may not use as often. Learned behaviors, and so those may not actually be strengths, but they're things that we do well, but may not actually enjoy. And then the weaknesses, the things we find hard to do and we don't enjoy. There is a free starter profile assessment online, and Meg's going to put the link in the chat, but you will pay for additional detailed reports. And then the VIA Institute on Character offers a character strengths assessment, which aligns very much with our values. They suggest that strengths are the positive parts of your personality that impact how you think, how you feel, and how you behave. Now, working across many global cultures, scientists identified 24 character strengths that we all have the capacity to express. And they suggest that knowing and applying your highest character strengths is the key to you being your best self. There is a free VIA assessment, as well as several paid report options, including a team option. Our next option is discovery conversations. This is where we create opportunities to talk about our strengths and talents, our gifts, how we use them, and what becomes possible when we play to our strengths. Discovery conversations, when done well, can be very encouraging. They can be affirming, trust building, and team building, because people feel understood. They feel that their strengths are seen and respected. One thing to pay attention to, though, is that some people say they feel uncomfortable talking about their strengths, especially in a group. And this may connect to fear. One fear could be perhaps the fear of being seen to be self-promoting or arrogant. Another could be a fear that people may discount or disagree with their self-assessment of their strengths. The good news, though, is that once people feel safe sharing their strengths, they become more confident not only in talking about them, but more important, in looking for opportunities to contribute their strengths to their team, and also in spotting and acknowledging the strengths in their teammates. In discovery conversations, open-ended questions are going to be your friend. Here are some examples of questions or probes you can use with individuals or small groups, or you could even use them as reflection questions yourself to discover your own strengths. What is the best thing about you or me? What do you like most about yourself? What do you enjoy doing most? Tell me about a time when you felt you were making a difference. What brings out your best? What is your most significant achievement? What are your greatest skills? What makes you feel that you are being who you really are? And what makes you feel that you're doing what you're really meant to do? Or what is it that you're most looking forward to in future? The third option is a technique that strengths-based coaches use, and I have found this very helpful. It's called noticing the energy. Some people call it tracking the energy. When people talk about situations in which they were using strengths, whether they're using strengths language or not, it doesn't matter. Their energy increases. It may spike. You may notice more animation in their expression or their voice. They may sit or stand straighter or make more expansive movements. They may smile or light up. When working in areas of strength, people may also talk about time flying by or not feeling tired at the end of a shift. The opposite is also true. When people talk about dwelling on weaknesses or work that does not align with their strengths, the energy is different. It may be lower, as if they're carrying a heavy weight on their shoulders, or it could be somewhat guarded or defensive, as if they feel the need to protect themselves or justify themselves. They may also talk about time dragging or feeling that work is just endless or draining or meaningless. This is another example of the importance of noticing our patterns as leaders and what we pay attention to. We may be used to noticing when someone, even ourselves, is low energy, not fully engaging, or working at half speed. It's easy to spot, but it's not that helpful if our hope is to enhance performance and that sense of community through a strengths focus. So whenever possible, whether you're in a discovery conversation or simply in daily interactions with your team, notice when people light up in a positive way. Notice what they're doing when they shine. We can use that insight as a gateway to acknowledging areas of strength in our team. When leaders and colleagues learn to discover and honor each other's strengths, they strengthen the team's confidence, competence, collaboration, and sense of community. If you think about it, our individual and collective strengths are our most important resources in our work. But as with any resource, we will see the greatest gains or return on investment when we invest these strengths wisely. And so that brings us to today's tips. The manager tip is to practice strength spotting every day. It may feel uncomfortable at first, but the more you look for strengths, the more you're going to see. And the agenda tip is include opportunities to discuss and acknowledge individual team strengths. Next week, I'll be back with you to discuss how we address resistance or deal with pushback when we're working on projects. And I hope you'll be able to join us for that. As always, we encourage you to use and share the resources at Healthy at Hopkins and the Office of Wellbeing. I thank you for being here with us today. And now I look forward to answering your questions and hearing your insights. Thanks.